What's going on, everybody? This is Dr. Chris Featherstone. I am here for yet another episode of UnSKripted. I believe this is the 16th episode. Wow. 16 weeks of doing this thing here. Every single week, we bring a big name wrestler on the show for a fan Q&A. That's crazy that it's been 4 months now. It's just time just flying by. It's been super, super fun so far, and it's only going to get better from here. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this guy, I've interviewed him before. He's a super nice guy, man. It's like, I remember talking on him before. Actually, I'm doing well, everybody. Actually, I'm glad people are asking how I'm doing. I'm doing well. Thank you. But yeah, man, is tough and as intimidating on the mat this person is. He's just a teddy bear of a guy, and I think he's in the waiting room now saying, no, don't tell anybody that. Don't tell anybody how nice I am. You know what? He's a super nice guy, man. And it's a pleasure to know him. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, he is former NWA World Heavyweight Champion. He is a UFC Hall of Famer and one of the greatest competitors, combat sports competitors who's ever stepped on the mat. He's got a pair of black tights on. He seems very normal, but he's not normal at all. When he gets in that ring, he will get you in all types of holds and make you tap out in no time. Without further ado, Dan the Beast Severn, how are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good there, Chris. I was trying to think, how does one even follow up after that introduction right now? I'm thinking, especially when you start saying, and he wears tights. I'm thinking, well, can you take a man seriously when they wear, tights, latex, and they march around in, the squared circle?
That's right.
We'll have some fun here tonight.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Tights or no tights, man. You are the man.
I do okay. That's how I put it. I do okay for a guy that simply just makes it up by the seat of my pants. So,
well, you definitely don't look. You definitely don't seem like that when you get in that ring all those years, man. And
ironically, though, that's probably you and a lot of your audience will probably be surprised about, because if you're just talking about just the cage fighting career,
mm-hmm.
out of a 20-year career, I only had 2 training camps.
Wow.
Once for UFC number 5, I took out 32 days of my life and actually trained for the event. And then for the ultimate, I took out 35 days.
Wow.
The rest of the times, Chris, I just showed up.
Wow. You just showed up and fought, man. That's
half the time I didn't even know the credentials of my opponent. I just was glad that when you're standing in the cage and they're making the announcements of fighting out of the red corner, fighting out of the blue corner, I'm like, okay, I have to watch out for this, and this. Okay, this guy, I have to watch out for this, and this.
Yeah.
And literally, I'm making up my game plan probably less than 30, 40 seconds before game on.
Wow. That's impressive, man. That's impressive. Like I don't even know who you are. I don't even have to train for you. I just know how to beat people up, and that's what I'll do.
Well, no. You said you said it best earlier in the introduction. I've never been in a actual fight ever in my life, but I have been a competitor my entire life, and that's a whole different type of cat because I'll shake your hand before, I'll shake your hand after. No hard feelings for it just happening between those 2 shakes. I understand the rules probably too well, and I know how to manipulate those rules to my benefit.
Yeah, you're just it's not necessarily just the understanding of street fighting or anything like that. You just you just know how to tactfully and tactically and technically just bend people's ligaments and
turn me into a pretzel a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, but then the sport of amateur wrestling, which is my longest pedigree that I have, is my amateur wrestling career, teaches you how to manipulate people through the principles of leverage. Well, another way of equating that is leverage equals pain. It's not because it was I'm tickling you or something like that. You're going to roll over on your back and get pinned. It's because I'm inducing leverage of pain. So I always say it's just legalized pain. And
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to in the sport of amateur wrestling. You actually have to break your opponent. Break them. I mean, is that you have to you are physically and mentally imposing your will upon them. Because do they want to get pinned? No. The ultimate thing to do in a victory is to pin your opponent, whether that be amateur wrestling or whether that be professional wrestling. It's still the pin is the pin.
That's right. That's right. We have an onslaught of questions. There are people who are super excited to see you. A lot of people haven't seen in a long time.
Throw them at me there, Chris. I'm ready. I got my duty chops up here right now.
Talk about shoot fighting. I'll shoot some questions at you. Here we go.
All right.
We'll go with Reju. We'll start with there. Hey Dan, what did you think of Ronda Rousey's run in WWE?
Well, you pronounce it Reju?
Reju. Yep.
Okay, Reju. Reju, I hate to say this, but I just don't really watch much television at all. I mean, I will watch a select match. I'm aware that she was being used quite strongly in the beginning, and basically, again, from different things that I've read or heard, is that now she has kind of moved on from them. It wasn't really with them really for all that long in the process. I think she was having some difficult times actually conforming to the professional wrestling lifestyle. I mean, it's very demanding, especially if you are a star in the organization. I think the standard contract is like 187 dates. That doesn't mean travel to or travel back from. That's 187 dates. And if you're a star, you're doing a whole lot more marketing and publicity type of things on top of that. So it is a life of being on the road.
Yeah. Competitively, she debuted in the Royal Rumble January of 2018. She I think her first match, if I'm not mistaken, it was against Nia Jax. I believe it was against Nia Jax. That was let me turn my camera back. Yeah, Nia Jax. That was like, I think that was Money in the Bank, if I'm not mistaken. So that was summer of 18, and
Oh,
then
you definitely know a lot more what's going on than what I do. As I said before, it's not that
yeah, but I was just
I
agreeing that she didn't have a long
a
career at all.
long career. Yeah.
Yeah, her last match was WrestleMania of last year in New Jersey. So yeah, she just yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that was very, very short lived.
Well, she had that mixed match at WrestleMania 34 with her and Kurt Angle. So that was so technically it went from WrestleMania to WrestleMania because her first match was the mixed match, and then she did some live events. I think her big match was Money in the Bank 2018 was her big first big match. So
Okay.
yeah, and their last match, of course, was last year. So yeah, it was really a year run. So there's some rumors that she may be coming back soon, but we'll see how that goes. She's been gone for
Well,
a year and a half.
I think I heard she pregnant.
Well, there was some rumors that she wanted to leave to get pregnant, but that never happened. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah.
I heard some like little tidbit type of rumor about that. So
Yep. Elvis is asking, hi Dan, what is Jim Cornette like behind the scenes? Have you ever been to Colorado?
I've been to Colorado. I don't know. Let's say 40, 50 or more times easily, but quite a few times earlier in my career for the Olympic Training Center that's right there in Colorado Springs. 1976 was my very first time. It used to be a military base, and they basically just took one of the barracks, knocked down a few interior walls, laid out a mat, and said, "Hey, there's your amateur wrestling room." And that was a very humble beginnings. But you go to that place now, oh, it's a multi-million-dollar facility, just high tech everything.
Wow.
Jim Cornette, what a phenomenal individual. I mean, I think it actually depends on what side are you on with him. He loves professional wrestling. He just loves it. And literally, when you're having a conversation with him, you can almost see the kid come out in him because it was the kid that fell in love with it so many years ago. And when you're talking to him, you can still see that child in there that wants to believe and wants to really get engaged. And he just hates it when people are just booking just ridiculous matches. Again, when he was working with the WWF at the time, now known as WWE, and Vince Russo was the head of creative. He just was button heads at all times. He would come in. I'd be in the cafeteria area for whatever location we were at, setting up for either a live Monday Night Raw or the Tuesday night tapings. And he would come in there and just to see what I was doing, and he like this creative team. He goes, Dandy, they don't have a clue what to do with you. You're the greatest thing to hit professional wrestling. You're a wrestler who can wrestle. You're not going to sit out there and cut promos. You're not going to sit out there and flex because that's just not you. You're just going to just go out there and discombobulate people. And so
did
it
anybody
was
ever
great.
give you an idea? Did anybody ever pitch you having a stickman, a manager?
Well, I mean, Jim was basically kind of a manager for me. He actually was coming out. I mean, in the beginning, there are several times where he did come out with me with the belts and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
he
yeah.
said, but no, there was because I'm not. I never was a talker. Whether it be in professional wrestling, my amateur wrestling career, even in my MMA career, people they're always trying to get you to fire off some types of insults, stuff like this. I'm like, I don't have to play that game.
I talk in the ring.
Yeah, no, exactly. I just say, we've got if it's five-minute rounds, he's got 25 minutes here to make his debut. I don't think it's going to quite see that long. I mean, it's where I have probably a very high percentile of finishing most of my matches within the first round.
Yeah, I remember Cornette coming out with you for a bit, but that tapered off rather quickly, though.
Yeah, it did. It was and he should have. It should have kept on going. Is what it should
I
did. But
agree.
the thing that kind of happened is, like I said, they didn't really have a clue as to what to do with me. They had so many other people that they were moving ahead with them and their careers because I was a part timer.
Hmm.
It really what I was. Out of 187 dates, I was working. I think 60. I think that's what my contract was for 60 dates a year,
Hmm.
and I was not exclusive. I could work
Hmm.
for anybody,
Hmm.
including WCW. They still existed at that time, and NWA, and I was not. I was not I have all my eggs in one basket.
Hmm.
I was really very fortunate. I was doing a lot of my talks with Jim Ross,
Hmm.
and Jim he liked just how down to earth I was in the discussions that I didn't want to give up 2 years of my life because it was basically they offered me up a 2 year contract with possible going into some additional years after that.
Hmm.
It turned out I kind of already knew because I talked to some other people about moving there, not moving there, but to work with the organization. And a couple of my friends said that Dan, your age alone is going to be held against you. And that's one of the things that Vince never really realized how old I was at the time. And at the time I signed with WWF, I was 48 years old.
Hmm.
And literally as he found that out, here we're in the office, stuff like that, and a few different things were being said back and forth. And then he finally looked at me and goes, "Well, exactly how old are you?" And I'm like 48. And he looks over at Jim Ross and goes, "Jim," he goes, "Who's our oldest rookie ever?" And Jim just goes, "Dan." He just points at me and like, but I didn't look my age, nor did I act my age.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know,
Did you ever talk to Bischoff?
yeah, I mean, WCW brought me in second. I think WWF brought me in at first. Then Bischoff brought me in, and but Bischoff was definitely a lot more aggressive
Hmm.
um, in what they're offering up. WWF brought me right back. They basically agreed to what I was looking for, and done. I mean, that's all. To me, it's like it's professional wrestling. Whether I work for WWF or WCW, it really didn't matter to me as long as I got what I was looking for, and the thing was I was just not going to be I wasn't going to be exclusive to anybody. I was still could work with the NWA because the NWA is what gave me my real start in professional wrestling
Hmm.
on a much more national and or international level,
Hmm.
of which Jim Cornette was a part of as well. Um, Chris Candido was his champion for Smoky Mountain Wrestling,
Hmm.
and I was brought in to a show just to be a spectator. And through the course of the match, he and I just had a little bit of altercation that basically led into a match later that evening. So
Hmm.
that's how that started on off. And Jim was, like I said, he was a part of all that. So
Now, when you were talking to Bischoff, was there like any plans, or was just a kind of a money negotiation? Did they have anything kind of the go like as far as booking plans set for you, or was it just guys
well,
were just talking
I'll
dollars?
say the one thing they said that was kind of interesting to me as I'm in this office, he goes, I envision you like a car crash at a race. I'm like, I don't know if is that a good thing or a bad thing. So I'm like going, well, that's food for thought here right now. But
Yeah, yeah.
I got along with him just fine, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
Eric's my guy. Yeah, I loved your WWE theme song, man. For those who don't remember Dan Severn's WWE theme song, go check it out as soon as this show's over. It fit you to the T. Like was there any discussions about like coming up with a theme song, or just someone just said, okay, here it is. We're just gonna play it.
yeah, basically, I had no input whatsoever. I remember like one of the first times I actually listen to it because most of the time I was nervous.
Mm-hmm.
To me, amateur wrestling, MMA, nerves of ice. I mean, it's half the time I'm getting ready to go to the cage, and people look at me like, dude, are you even awake? I mean, it's because I'm so relaxed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's in the world of professional wrestling when you're working a storyline and things of that nature, and you have to take care of somebody,
Mm-hmm.
their body and stuff like that. It's like it was really tough for me from that transition of being that amateur wrestler that went into professional wrestling because I was so used to tuning out the audience because I could be in one of the old Eastern Bloc countries.
Mm-hmm.
And all the propaganda they've been fed, they hate Americans and stuff like that because we represent something that the privileges that they'll never have. And so being booed was pretty much second nature. So I always was used to tuning out the audience. Whereas in
Mm-hmm.
professional wrestling, you need to be in tune with that to
Mm-hmm.
see what's the audience reacting to? What are they
Mm-hmm.
biting on? To make a notation that to where you might want to go back to that later in the match.
Yep. Yep.
And because not all crowds are the same. What you do in Japan may not work in Canada or Mexico or in the States, and even
Mm-hmm.
inside the United States, all depends on is it East Coast versus West Coast versus the North versus the South. I mean,
That's
as to
true. That's
what
true.
people are into or a little bit more used to.
That's
So
true. That's a good point because like New York and Chicago are heavier markets as far as like smart marks, as a lot of people call them, and things like that. More, a little bit more ruckus, in their in their fandom compared to more, kind of Tennessee Southern markets. A little bit more
yeah.
conservative in their
Well, then if you look at it, if you're like an ECW or something like that, I
That's
mean, and
true.
we're
Yeah,
more
Philly
of a
crowd.
hardcore type of
Hmm.
operation there too. So it's kind of like
That's
going.
right.
So there's
Yep.
I was actually at ECW's very first pay per view. I remember being there and sitting up in the gorilla area, just kind of watching the show and speaking with Paul Heyman because Paul Heyman really wanted to bring me in and be a part of ECW there as well. So
You
it
were
was
the ultimate free agent, man. you
well,
were
I
the
mean,
you were the
it was,
man.
but but like you said, a lot of people a lot of people are intimidated by me because they have seen what I've done.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like I'll be at like a Comic Con, for example, and I'll see like two guys out of the corner of my eye, and they're talking and they're pointing towards me, and then I look over towards them, and they don't even want to make eye contact there with me, and I'm like going, hey guys, come on over here, just to chat a little bit there, stuff like that. They get a little bit closer. Then usually after about 5 minutes, the standard line is, "You're not at all like we thought you would be." Oh,
Yeah.
what do you mean? Do you think I'd be behind a cage and bars, stuff like that? I'd be throwing feces at people and stuff like that, growling, frothing. They're
We
like going,
find out my next pretzel victim.
yeah, exactly. But they're like, oh, yeah. But I'm like, no, no, no. They actually
Yeah.
got a big kick out of me because they like, dude, you got a good sense of humor, stuff like that. I go, yeah, I take my competition seriously at that time, but prior to it, after it, nah, I'm good to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. That's
I mean,
awesome.
I have pulled off more one-liners inside the octagon than probably anybody else.
Nice.
And Big John McCarthy, oh, he didn't know what to think of me. For example, like the very first time was in UFC number 4. That was the first time I was ever in. Was UFC number 4. Again, the tournament format where you have to face 3 men in the same 2-hour pay-per-view. So Big John comes up to you and he talks to you, the athlete, first, and he's very authoritative the way he runs through his little talk there with you. And at the end of his little talk, um, he like, are there any questions? And they pauses for a second. They turns from you, then talks to your corner man, and again to go through what he expects out of the corner man there as well. So,
Mhm.
first time, first match, he's comes up there, he's goes through his whole line. He hits me with that line. Are there any questions? I can't think of anything. So as he's turning to talk to my corner man, who happens to be Al Snow of all people, uh,
I remember seeing a picture of that. Yeah, I
yeah.
remember it was Al Snow. Yeah.
So as Big John turns, I mean, just a goofy thought pops into my head, and I simply just said out loud, "Where did all that money go that my parents paid for piano lessons?" And he said he heard it, but when he looked back at me, he said he thought to himself it couldn't come out of me because I had my game face on, you know. So
Nice.
because to me, amateur wrestling is all about. There's a huge part of it is psychology
For
of
sure.
how do you intimidate your opponent?
Yeah.
Is it because usually in amateur wrestling, it's always that shaking hand in the beginning to be like there's so many guys that are trying to squeeze your hand like I'm gonna crush you or something like this, and it's kind of like
Mhm.
going. I just didn't buy into any of that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
and
yeah. That's
so
that's funny. All right, let's do a 5-minute lightning round. Let's see as many questions we can get out. Reju's so many years later, what did you think of the Brawl for All?
it was like a turd in a punch bowl. Shouldn't have been there.
Indeed. Philip and Carlos is really asking similar thing. Philip is asking, weren't you with Ken Shamrock at one point? Carlos asking, are you friends with in real life with Ken Shamrock?
Um, let's say cordial at best. I mean,
Got
it's
it.
for I think for the longest time, I'd say we were just butting heads
Hmm.
because it just he would say things and to me it's like going, I don't agree,
Yeah.
that kind
Yeah.
of thing. I mean, we spent I was on a tour down in Australia and there I think for I'll say 5 7 days something like that. So and we were three different shows, so I had a chance to spend a great deal of time around Ken and interaction with each other to where I mean we have a much better understanding from where each other comes from, but at the same token, I still feel I'm right and he's wrong. So
Got it.
I didn't change my opinion at all.
Yeah. Do you have a prediction for Khabib versus Justin Gaethje?
Yep, I believe Justin Gaethje, it will be his night.
All right. What are
I could
you?
go into a lot more detail of why I think that, but I mean that's just if you want to know, that's what I'm going with.
Nice. What's your opinion on the current state of UFC?
I really couldn't tell you. It's again, I will watch a select match.
Mhm.
I do get invited to a lot of UFC pay per views and or ESPN type pay per views that that UFC is associated with as well. Most of the time, I'm end up talking to the people more than I am watching of the match
Got you.
because again, that's part of what country and hosting different UFC type of socialized parties and stuff like that take
Mhm.
place. So I do watch like for example, I do want to watch the Habib and the Gaethje match,
Mhm.
and that out of the entire card, that's probably the one match that I really want to see. If something really great happens in another match, somebody will bring it to my attention, and I will watch that other match. I'm, I mean, Chris, about the only way I can really put it there is, as bluntly, is like this: there are two types of people in this world. There are those who are going to watch life pass them by,
Mhm.
and there are going to be those who are going to engage the game. I'm going to engage it for all the gusto I've got. And reality is, there are certain things I started at a very young age. I mean, I started my amateur wrestling career in seventh grade, 1969. And through the school systems, physical education. Now, fast forward to what do we teach in our school system of physical education? 20 to 30% of the students don't even dress out for phys ed, and yet they pass. And to me,
Yeah.
it's like, no, there should be. I mean, we're so people want to be so politically correct. They don't want to give grades anymore. They want to give S for satisfactory.
Mhm.
No, I don't believe in that. I mean, it's kind of like going, I'm so cruel. I want to pull out the old rubber stamp and go, loser, loser. No, I mean, not to be mean,
Yeah.
but not everyone's going to be a rocket scientist.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone gets a ribbon. Everyone gets a medal. No,
You got to
there's
set a
only
standard.
yeah.
You got to set a
That's
standard.
why I always tell people that, like at my training facility, I have standards. I have expectations. If you can't meet my standards, don't come. See
Yeah.
you later. The door that opens and welcomes you here also allows you to leave.
There you go. All right, 3-minute lightning round. Here we go. Leonard is asking, what are your thoughts on Brock Lesnar's impact on combat sports, and do you think he will fight again?
Oh, I do believe he will probably fight again because the money will be too great.
Yeah.
That's really what will boil down to. Maybe the reality is, does he have to fight right now? I don't know because it all boils down to how good are you at saving and or investing your income. There's a lot of the plight of a lot of professional athletes is they do not have the savvy to invest and save money. And I don't name the sport again. I'm just doing this for against professional wrestlers and or MMA fighters. I mean, you look at almost any baseball players, football players, basketball players. You hear about them, all of them that their career was shorter than they thought it would be, and they had bad investments and blah blah blah. So
Yeah.
it all boils down to it. But will he probably fight again? Sure, because he can make an incredible payday.
Mm-hmm. What are your memories of Owen Hart?
Memories of Owen Hart. Well, getting to know the Hart family in general, probably when I was first at WWF, it was really just Owen right there. Brett was working over at WCW at the time, but when they set up um, the dungeon match between Owen Hart and Ken Shamrock,
Mm-hmm.
this actually took place right inside of the Hart residence,
Mm-hmm.
and I was the special guest referee. So while they were setting up cameras, sound system, and stuff like that down in the dungeon, basically the basement of the Hart residence, I was up in the living room and sitting there with Stu Hart and just listening to him telling story after story. And I guess some people must have told him a little bit about me before I got there because he was asking me about my shooter background and stuff like that. And I must have made a good impression because a couple of weeks later, I'm at one of our other WWF house shows, and Owen Hart comes up with a T-shirt. It was actually an Owen Hart T-shirt, but his dad had signed it for me. He says, my dad really enjoyed speaking to you because he wanted you to have this as a gift. I said, well, tell your dad. I said, thank you. So through knowing Owen Hart, meeting his father, a couple other family members, basically, I think things got back to Brett because Brett went out of his way to come over and see me and thank me for being kind to his father, stuff like that. And, so that each time that I happen to go to a Comic Con or something like that again, if I know Brett's going to be there, I will go out of my way to go over there and shake his hand and just say hi and just interact for a few minutes before I have to go off and do whatever it is I have to do.
Nice. Bloss is asking, any chance you could reveal the wrestler's name who confided in you that you scared the WWE superstars? Dun dun dun.
Well, I mean, it's a couple different guys that told me about that, but it's I guess maybe just to keep a little bit of the secrecy of behind that. Nah, no, I won't reveal that. But
Right. Karen G says, Dan, is the story true that you threatened WWE management by saying you would hijack the Royal Rumble after they threatened you with making you lose for not willing to draw 666 on your forehead?
well, I don't know if I'd say hijack it. I basically was going to go off script. Think of it that way. It was, the Royal Rumble was coming up again. Just for some of the other people that are wondering what is this all about. Um, the creative team comes up with different ideas. I mean, if you could have been a baby face all along, they might want to turn you into a heel, or if you're a heel, they might want you to drop back and turn it back into the baby face good guy scenario. I was basically kind of thrown into that category of a baby face, no nonsense type of a baby face, because I wasn't cutting no heel promos or nothing of that nature. And then all of a sudden, the couple of the road agents take me aside and like, Dan, creative has come up with this new idea that they want to put 666 across your forehead, mark of the beast, and they want to make you an Undertaker disciple. And I'm thinking to myself, time out, guys, not going to happen. I live in small town USA. I don't want to have any repercussions against my family, nor against my businesses, nor against me. So, and then all of a sudden, one of the road agents goes, Dan, we could start using you poorly. I go, hold it right there. What do you mean? And he says, well, we said we could start having you lose matches. I go, I just simply I go, where does it say on my contract I have to lose to anybody? What if I walk out into your world of fantasy and I turn fantasy into reality? Which one of your so-called stars is going to hold a candlestick to me? And the Royal Rumble was coming up at that point in time. And again, now, WWF didn't know about any of this, but it was crossing my mind because I'd already met with Eric Bischoff and with Ted Turner. I'm thinking, what if I contact Eric Bischoff, Ted Turner, and go, say, fellas, what's it worth to you guys if when it's time for me to exit the ring at the Royal Rumble, I go a little bit off script and I start turning fantasy into reality? They're going to feed me a fresh guy every 2 minutes. Oh, eventually they'll get me out of that ring, but they haven't got me out of that arena. How much havoc and how much could I have done to disrupt their storyline, stuff like that? I could have made probably a pretty cool payday that night. Now, would I have been rehired by or been let loose from WWF for 8 hours? Possibly. Who knows? I mean, wackier things have happened, and yet Vince has kept people on. I mean, it's when you have people that keep violating their own wellness policy, and yet Vince turns a blind eye onto. I mean, there's being a hypocrite. If you're going to come up with rules stuff like that, it applies to everybody. I'm a pretty blunt person. I'm a very open person. I'm an honest person, but I don't think some people can handle that.
It's definitely a pecking order for sure. So, all right, real quick, Ronnie's asking thoughts on McGregor's repeated retirement and comeback. Last question.
Well, I mean, Conor, again, does he need the money? I don't know. I mean, again, I've read a couple of things. He has a mansion in California. He's got a mansion back in Ireland. I don't know if it's legit or not. I hear these kind of things. He's got a few different businesses going. Hopefully that he's salted some of that money away, because a lot of athletes are not going to realize how short their day in the sun really is, that they will be able to live this lifestyle of a professional athlete. He's marketable. He knows he's learned some things in the beginning there, and I always say that any MMA fighter that really wants to go somewhere and make it needs to study professional wrestling, because there's 3 major ingredients for becoming a professional wrestler, and it's going to be your body language, facial expressions, and audio. Knowing that most people are never going to actually be able to hear you, but they're going to see your facial expressions and your body language, and that speaks volumes. Because I tell people that the moment that your music plays, your music should say something about you. The moment you come through that curtain, the way that how you conduct yourself, how you approach that ring, what you do before you even get there, are you interacting with the crowd, or are you not interacting with the crowd? People should know before you ever step inside that ring, I don't like him, or I like him. You got to get that reaction.
Yeah,
baby face or the heel.
That's true. Dan, it's been a pleasure, man. This was fun. I hope you enjoyed yourself. This is a great time. I know that you're a Michigan guy, right? So,
I'm in Michigan right now. As I tell people, I'm born and raised Michigan, but upon graduating out of high school, I went to college at Arizona State.
Okay.
And for a decade, I lived out in Arizona. First 5 years student athlete because I redshirted 1 year, and then the next 5 years after that as assistant wrestling coach to Bobby Douglas before taking a job at Michigan State.
Okay.
So that's what brought me back to my home state. So I have family and friends, and I have a place out in Arizona. So this will be the very first year that I will live the lifestyle of a snowbird as I see any of that white stuff starting to come down from the sky. I shall scamper to Phoenix, Arizona, where it'll be warm and sunny still.
Yes, indeed. And I knew that you're a Michigan guy. I am a born and raised and bred in Ohio guy. So I just decided to give you a little gift today.
I see. So you're gonna try to see now. I never got into these rivalry type of things. I mean, it's funny because if you go to Ohio State or if you go into like Michigan, they probably have the same T-shirt, just sent a little different way. They'll say, flush the toilet twice because it's a long ways to Columbus, Ohio. And then again, down at Ohio State, they probably say the same T-shirt, flush twice. It's a long ways to Ann Arbor. I mean,
I used to sell Ohio State T-shirts, and I've seen a lot. I used to do retail selling Ohio State T-shirts, and it's been crazy. So lots of stuff.
There's been like a rivalry between them. I'm thinking, well, as long as it helps put butts in the seats and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's the biggest rivalry in college football. He is at Dan B. Severn. I am at Chris Prolific. Go follow both of us on Twitter. This is another episode of Unscripted. Dan, it's been a pleasure, man. I had a good time.
Let me throw out one more thing. Go to also to dansevern.com because there's more things there than they'll see at the Twitter following because it's I'm a bit of a dinosaur there, Chris.
Okay. dansevern.com. That's where you go. dansevern.com. Yes. Good stuff. Go to dansevern.com to follow all things Beast. And you don't have to worry about any marks on his head or anything like that. So you don't have to worry about that.
Yep. And for having a career of over 100 cage fights, you don't see no marks there from that either.
Oh man, because you're a beast, man. That's why.
No. I just think of it this way, Chris. 'Tis better to give than receive, and in the fight game, I'm all about that one.
There you go.
Don't want to receive no gifts that way.
Nice. Thanks a lot, Dan. I appreciate you coming on tonight, man.
Take care, Chris.
Right, bye-bye.